Trying to make a video here with the screenshot recorder, and we are going to pull some video off of this T7 Samsung T7 drive, and we're going to copy it to the desktop. If I can get that right, how come I can't get a hold of it? Here we go. We're copying it to the desktop. Now this T7 is not, it's a SSD, but it's not, by your Thunderbolt 5 standards, it's not even anywhere near that. But okay, we're starting the file. We got 3 gigs already, 4 gigs, 5 gigs, less than a minute, 6, 7, 8 gigs, and we are coming up on the finish here. And 10 seconds left, and we are transferring 14 gigs. We are looking at 16.8 gigs. That's how fast this T7 writes over to the MacBook Pro. And we are going to open, actually I am actually running I'm running the T7. I've got my Final Cut library on the T7 because I don't want to fill up the hard drive, the SSD drive on this MacBook Pro. So we are going to start a new project. New project's going to be T7 test. And here we go, T7 test. And here we go, start that. We're going to start that. I'm going to go grab some files off of this T7 on this new project. So let's go to the import here. And we're going to pick all these. Now this is just an old video that I just recently made about a BB gun that my son sent me. So we are going to select all these. And we are going to import them. Now they are on the drive of this laptop. Now that's the ones we just put in. Now I've noticed that it grabs them right away, but this window doesn't seem to close anymore like it used to. So anyway, they're already here. They are here. So we are going to grab them all, edit, select all, and we are going to put them in the timeline. Yeah, I think we're missing something here. Okay, we got 2 in the timeline. Yeah, something, I didn't get them all. Some more here. Let's see, 34, 35. So we got all of these. So we're just playing. I've been playing with this machine, and I've been very, very pleased with its performance, like you would expect yourself to be. So let's do a shift select, and we will drop this in after here. Now we're not making any special video, we're just putting some footage in here, and I'm trying to get used to the trackpad for editing. I do like it, but I'm not good with it because I've been using this mouse for a long time, and we are going to change that. So I've got several clips here, and what I wanted to note, I'm not doing rendering. So I'm not rendering in the background. But there is the power of this machine. We are going to open up, not transitions, we are going to open up some filters, and these filters are not things that I normally use, but we're just going to throw them on this timeline to see how fast this machine can play back in real time. So we're going to put on background squares on the first one. We'll do that one, and then we will select this one. We'll put in black and white with high contrast. Then this one we will put, how about color, HDR. Let's go comic looks. And that's under video all. So comic looks. We're just grabbing things here. Colorize, combat, contrast, cool. Crop. Where to go? Cool tones, colorize. Cartoon. I was going to grab cartoon. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, we're going to put cartoon on here. Let's go to this one and put cold CCD. And let's go to this one and we'll put call out. And we've got this one here. We're going to put clean neutral. This one here, we're going to put color eyes. And we have a 22-minute video here. So let's squeeze down the timeline here. And let's do a select all. Let's go back over here and find safe. Okay, broadcast safe, so let's throw that on there. Well, we didn't get them on all of them. You know what, Command Z. Let's make this a compound clip. Right click, new compound clip, test clip. Okay, now we're going to throw broadcast safe on here. And we have got several items on this timeline. And you can see the colorized there. Let me turn the volume up.
To these pistols.
So the playback.
And it drops free. Very good.
There's a call out.
This nice pistol case over here. There's a back one here that causes it to not.
And there's no rendering.
Smith & Wesson and
I really like that there's no rendering. Now look at the scrub through on this. I just brought that video in. This is 30 frames a second, 100 megabits. On
hello guys, welcome to my channel.
On the ZV-E10, and the performance on this with all those filters is absolutely great. Now let's pull up processor. Let's see, we got to go down here and grab up the activity monitor. We're going to grab the activity monitor, and we are going to see CPU. The CPU is at idle 88%. Now it stays basically almost at 80% even when you're exporting. So we're going to open the memory. Now the memory uses the 24 gigs. So we've got 12.4 and we got 8, but we have swap. And I haven't seen any swap being used. But we are going to go to view and we're going to open up, let's see, activity monitor, view, window. I want to see CPU usage. So here's the CPU usage on top. And then I want to see CPU history. So here's our history. And I want to see GPU history. Now here's our GPU history. Now we're going to export this 22-minute video with all those filters on there, which I'm sure the edit's not good, but I mean, hey, it's a bunch of filters. It's a good test. So we're going to do the stopwatch here, reset the stopwatch, and we're going to export it. And let's export it in HEVC. We're going to go to settings. We're on social platforms, 8-bit. The camera's only 8-bit. So we are going to export it. It's going to be 5.5 gigs. And we're going to export it to the desktop. And we are going to do that right now. And we are going to hit go and go. So we are exporting. Now I want you to see that the cores, the efficiency cores, are the ones that get used. The performance cores barely get scratched the surface. So you're looking at hardly anything on the efficiency cores. But hardly anything on the performance cores. But on the efficiency cores, they seem to be doing all the work. And the GPU history over here is not even being stressed. We are, let's do the window for background tasks. Okay, so we're at 2% and we're at 54 seconds. Now, last time I tried this with not the same filters, but similar, it ran about 50%, so, or double the speed. So real time, we got 22-minute timeline here, 22 minutes, and it did it in 10 or 12 minutes. So we are at 1.19 there, 1 minute 19 seconds, and we're at 3%. So 3% before we got 3 minutes. So it'll follow this trend all the way towards the end, but the thing that's most noticeable is the cores are not being utilized hardly at all. Now, I haven't seen that on anybody's channel except for iPhondo. Now, iPhondo did 3 reviews. He did it on the Mini, he did it on the MacBook Pro, and he did it on the iMac. And he came up with the same thing, that the CPUs and stuff are hardly even working. Now, if you don't put any filters on the video, this shows like it's 80% idle. So, which is utterly amazing. So let's see, where is my other screen here? My other screen, here we go. Now look at this down here, memory pressure. We have 0 swap used, so 24 gig. We got 15 gigs used here in cache file 8.4, and the app is using almost 10 gigs, and the wired memory is 4.5. But we're not using any swaps. So 24 is pretty sweet spot for the RAM. And if you look at the CPU, it's 85% idle. Now, 85% idle, it's only using 10%. The system is using 2%, and the app or the user is using 10%. Now, think about that. We've got 86% processor power just sitting here, not being used. Now, according to iPhondo, he thinks it'll be utilized in the future, which I'm sure Apple, I've seen a lot of things over the years where if you bought their biggest Mac Pro, that it didn't utilize both of the processors. And I'm not a big geek on all that stuff, but I've been in it since the G5. I have a G5 tower right underneath the desk here. I've had the 17-inch MacBook Pro back in the day, which is a gorgeous machine, but it was big, you know, DVD player and all of that. And this new MacBook Pro, I like the 14-inch size. After having the 17-inch, my wife, I bought her the M1 MacBook Pro 13-inch a few years ago when it first came out, and it is a very nice machine. In fact, I like the sharp edges, and I like picking hers up better than the sides on this one. Hers has a sharper edge down there. Now this has some vents on the bottom, which probably increase performance. Oh, that brings up a good point. So we're at 4 minutes right now, 4 minutes, and we are running at exporting. We're at 10%. So 10%, we got a 22-minute timeline. So we'll see how this works out. So 22-minute timeline, and I think it'll be half of real time, which I think it'll be around 11 minutes. But like I said, I didn't get all the filters exactly the same as I did before. This is kind of a hit and miss kind of thing. But look at the efficiency cores. Core 5 is doing nothing basically. Core 6 is performance. Core 7, Core 8, those performance cores, all these performance cores. How many performance cores do you need if you're not going to use them? That would be my first question. And if we had more efficiency cores, would this be even faster than having performance cores? Now, me being a car guy, I would think the performance cores are what we really would want to be using. Of course, software is a different thing, but if you're going to call it performance, let's do some performance. Let's knock this thing out of the park. But this is running cool. You got some heat going on. I could have my temperature gun out, but it's not even putting out anything. It's not even turning the fans on. Now, I was concerned about that because this model has dual fans, and I remember my back in the day 17-inch MacBook Pro turning on the fans all the time. And that was one thing I liked about the MacBook M1 MacBook Pro that my wife got. No, it didn't have any fan. It does have fans. I got that wrong. The Air doesn't have any fans. But hers never turned the fans on, and when I was using it for editing. And this one's quiet, not using the fans either. So we're at 6 minutes and we're 15% through. So maybe we're not going to hit my 50% projection, but look at the GPU history. We're not even pushing the GPU at all. We're not pushing the performance cores at all. And I am in automatic mode. Now, I have changed that sometimes to see, how that would work out. Let's put it in high power. So we're on battery, and we're in the high power mode now. And you don't hear any difference. You don't hear any fan noise. It didn't change anything. I don't see any increase in efficiency on the cores. And it really makes you wonder if your performance cores are any good. What if 5, 6, 7, and 8, and 9, were defective, and why aren't they doing anything? Well, Final Cut Pro you would think would push the machine, and I know if you had a camera that had a 10-bit, if you had a red raw or whatever raw data, it would eat it up. It would pull a lot. But this little Sony ZV-E10 with 100 megabits a second is not even pushing the machine. Now, since I changed the power setting, we are using a little bit higher on the GPU. It did raise up. We're at 19%, coming up on 7 minutes 47 seconds. So I'm hoping that this video will show something to someone who's looking to purchase, whether they want to know whether they should buy the upscale to spend more money to get the higher cores or not. I think this makes a pretty good point that if you have more cores, that maybe if you had the more efficiency cores, it would speed it up a few minutes. Do you really need to spend that money for 3 more minutes? Or I think having the terabyte hard drive that comes with it and the extra charging brick, the larger one that I think is 90 something watts instead of 73 watts, I think that might be nice to have. Definitely nice to have more storage, because who wants to be fiddling with storage? I'm already practicing on how to keep my machine clean up so it doesn't get filled up. So we're at 22%. We're at 8 minutes 54 seconds. Not going as fast as I thought it would, but I did put some wild filters on there. So you see the GPU history. You're seeing the CPU history. Now, I don't hear the fan running at all. And hopefully you got a good view of this. We're coming up on 9 minutes 27 seconds. And we are looking at 23%. Now, I thought it would be over 50%, but I did throw some heavy filters on there. So this is not going to go the way I thought it was going to go speed-wise on my prediction. I thought it would take about 12 minutes to finish this thing out, but it's not going to. Of course, this is not some edit that I really like, the people that edit really good. I'm just throwing filters on there just to We're just testing this MacBook Pro M4 Pro chip for what it might do for you. So we're at 25%. So are we really hitting it out of the park? We're at 10 minutes at 25%. We're still ahead of real time. So that's a quarter of the way. So that would be, that's going to take us 40 minutes to do 22 minutes, according to that. And how's our battery doing? The battery is 55% right now, and we are on high power. You can see that the processors are not doing much. And let's pull that screen back up here. Yeah, where did it go? Here we go. Okay. The processor is idling at 85% now. Can't we get this thing to go a little faster if we used a little more processor? I mean, at least I'd like to use 50% processor. Wouldn't you prefer to use maybe 60% of your processor and knock this thing out of the park? But as it is, you can have 100 processors if they're only idling, and then that's the idles right there in percentage. Here's your CPU load, no CPU. Here's your GPU history. It's about 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So we're running GPU only about a third of the GPU. That really brings to mind, you know, you can buy more processors, you can buy a lot of stuff, but if the software is not going to utilize it, there's no way that you can make it do anymore. We're on high power. We're coming up on 12 minutes. And percentage-wise, where did my percentage-wise go? Well, you can see up here we're like a third of the way. There we go. Okay, so we're at 31% and we're at 12 minutes. So 1/3 of the way in 13 minutes. This is going to take longer than real time. This is going to take longer than real time. I must have thrown too many filters on there. But the fact that we can still scrub, look at that. You can still scrub through the timeline, play it back while it's working. I mean, it's just so smooth. "13 minutes. "33%. Of course, it stopped while I was doing that. So what's it going to be when we get to the end? I did kick the GPU up there when I was scrubbing. GPU history came up. So what happens if we open up a web browser? That'll be interesting. Okay, let's pull up YouTube. Now, finally time to upgrade. Max Tech, he's really got some good stuff. So, how's our CPU usage? I don't see that we're not making much ground here. We're at 35% at coming up on 15 minutes. Okay, so we opened up YouTube. And we're at 36%. 15 minutes. So 36% at 15 minutes. Now you can see all the processor's stuff that's going on. It's barely using anything. Some of it's using more than others. Processor still idle 80%. So you know all those Geekbench scores and all that, they're all great, but this is real world versus running some artificial score, synthetic benchmark. CPU is not working fast. Could it be faster? Maybe there's no way to send it through the CPU. Maybe it's all got to go through the GPU, but the GPU is not working its heart out either. And I would like to use the equipment. I'd like really the fans to be on and this thing to really be putting in some heat here. So even though it's on power, we're not dropping the battery very much. Now, of course, you got to balance battery life with performance if you're on automatic. But when you're on power mode, you want to use your processors, use your performance cores, your efficiency cores, your GPUs. I mean, let's use them. That's what we got it for, to use it. But it's playing softball with this MacBook Pro M4 Pro. Now, I mean, still, after coming from an old machine, I mean, it's still fantastic. No doubt about it. But you come home with all your cores, you're like, oh boy, I've got 4 efficiency cores and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 performance cores. Let's use them. Even the fans, we're not even using the fans. Shouldn't we be using the fans? What's your idea on that? What's your take? Do you think the machine should be using more of the processor and trying to cool it off? Or do you think it's nice to have a quiet machine, but it's also nice if you have a selection to select, power. Give me some power. So we're coming up on 17 minutes, 37 seconds, and we are running 43%. So we're at 43%. Hopefully my Sony ZV-E10 will not overheat and stop filming, because they are known to do that, especially in Florida. And I am feeling some heat in this room right now. Thankfully, winter time is on the way, and we are getting there. We're going to get a little cool spell the next few days. Okay, so we'll come back to this. We're at 44%, 18 minutes. So we're almost half the way, and we are running real time. We're going to surpass the real time. It's going to take longer to do all these filters. Here, I thought I was going to impress you, but I'm not going to impress you. Those filters are just too heavy duty. But it is nice to be able to edit without rendering. This machine will scrub the timeline with the data, with the clips that I put in it, and it will just scrub immediately. I don't have to sit and render to see what something's going to look like. Playback is exceptional. The screen is beautiful. It's very bright. Matches the brightness on my S22 Ultra, really. I think the Ultra is HDR is high, but I think it's 1,000 nits, or at least that was my last version. I think the Note 10, I think, hit the 1,000 mark. So I'm starting to ramble here. We are taking a long time. As you can see, processor is idling at 85%. Couldn't we use a little more of that processor to do that video? Look at the CPU load. CPU load, there is no CPU load. It's taking a lunch break while we're trying to do some work here. On something like this is like an old machine. You go walk away and have lunch and come back later. Of course, I don't use all those filters, so it's pretty fast, but one channel said it took 2 minutes on a 16-minute clip. I have never seen that kind of performance. Never. I tried different data rates, different exports, and it always was about 50%. Like 20-minute clip would take 10 minutes with my test. Now, I've only had it since Tuesday, so it's taken me this time to get some time with the machine. And it is a fingerprint magnet. This machine is covered in fingerprints. In fact, I was looking at the keyboard, the black. There is a lot of fingerprints on here. So we're coming on 21 minutes. That's, I think, the length of this clip is 22 minutes. And we're only at 51%. So we're going to double the length of this clip. And we're not using the cores hardly at all. And the CPU is idle, 85%. Unbelievable. Now, it could have something to do that I'm exporting it to HEVC, HVEC. Possible. I don't want to disturb this output until we get done and see what the outcome is. You can see core 2 is a little bit higher than core 1 and core 3 and core 4. So is 2 has a special job that's taking more oomph than the other cores. So we're at 24 minutes, 21 seconds. We're at 60% done right here. Processors haven't ramped up anymore. I think 2 might look a little higher than everybody else. The GPU is still the same, about 1/3. And the CPU load is still 86% idle. And how is our memory? So the memory has 0 swap. We have used no swap. And the app memory is 11. The wired memory is 4.9. And we are outputting straight to the machine. I believe I will have to follow back up on that and see. Check on that. So this is going to be a long video. The ZVE10 is still recording. Now, if anybody knows why the processors don't seem to be working that hard, why the GPU's not working that hard, why the fans didn't, why the machine, it's nice that the machine's quiet and cool and doesn't use much horsepower when you want it to be that way, but when you put it on power, how's our battery doing? We're on high power. Look at this. No apps using significant energy. Battery settings. That's interesting. So we're on battery under high power. And you can see it dropping down here. I charged it up this morning to, I think, about 93%. Battery level 51%. We're at 65%. Now I find interesting that the memory, it uses all 24, but it doesn't go over. Nothing swapped. So I think that might be a sweet spot. At least it looks with my editing. It's not going to need more RAM. Look, over time, this core 2 is climbing. It's almost at 2/3 now. Efficiency, it's been getting higher. Core 3 is probably a little bit higher. Core 1 is still down in the, I'd say, 1/3 area. Core 4 is down in the 1/3. I'd say core 2 is at 50%. And the other cores, the performance cores, they're not doing anything to write home about. Same thing with the GPU. GPU is looking at about 1/3 of the way. 68%, we're at 27 minutes, 45 seconds. So what's your thoughts on this, guys? You think the processor should be working harder, the CPU's working harder, the performance core is working harder, the GPU working harder when you're on power mode? Now I've run several similar tests on power mode. This one I switched on power during the middle, but on the other ones I tried it on power and I've tried it plugged in. I still never heard these fans kick on. I've never seen these CPUs, GPUs really working hard. So are they turned down for a reason? They're not utilized for a reason? I'll put a link to iPhondo where he said he noticed the same thing, that they weren't working very hard. He thinks it's something that needs to be worked on. And in his words, he didn't think it was a problem. He thinks it's just that they're not being utilized properly. I said that. I'll let you watch it and you be the judge. So we're at 71% and we're at 29 minutes. We're doing a 22-minute video here. 22 minutes. Of course, I threw a lot of filters on there. 0 byte swaps. We are talking GPU at 1/3. And Core 2 is running over 50%, I would say. Core 1, 1/3. Core 3, 1/3. Core 4 is a little bit less than the rest. 5 is 0, 6 is 0, 7 is 0, 8 is 0, 9 is 0, 10, 11, and 12 got a little bit, but it doesn't look like anything to write home about. So do you think this machine is up to par, or do you think it's just my machine? This would be very interesting to get feedback. And most people don't comment on my channel. I have a hard time getting comments. But what's your thoughts on this? Should I be seeing more on these processors? More on the performance cores? Should I be seeing quicker times? More GPU usage? Now, I'd like to make a real polished video and everything, but I wanted to get this out while people this whole week is talking about this machine, and this is my experience on this machine. Now, I know I'm working off of a T7 drive, but T7 drive's not that hot. You can put your hand on it, and we are outputting to the machine. Now I've tried it from the drive to the drive, and I see similar output. Similar. I didn't say it's identically the same, but it's similar. I see on everything I use the processors on for editing, I see similar results with 80-85% idle. Oh, is our activity monitor here. Memory pressure is still way down here. There is no memory pressure to speak of. And we got 84%, 86%, 86.9% idle. Why is the CPU idling? If you wanted to step on the gas and get a job done with a fast car, would you want your engine to be idling? Starting to ramble here, guys, but you can see my point about the processors, the cores, and the time. We're looking at 32 minutes, 22-minute video, and it's just that we're not using this high-performance chip. doing a lot of work very quietly. For those of you that are concerned about getting one that has a fan, my experience is you'll never hear the fan. Okay, we're at 32 minutes, 46 seconds. And we're getting close here. The ring up here is getting close. We are at 81%. Now I notice it goes to 95% and then it stops moving from 95 usually, and then it finishes the video quickly. So we might be getting towards the end here. And it looks like my camera is still recording, so it hasn't overheated. This is kind of a long video for my ZVE10 because it does overheat, especially you get outside, even in the shade. One time I left it on for 10 minutes and it was overheated. I thought they fixed that from the old ones, but they didn't. Still susceptible to overheating and shutting down. Florida is a tough area. When I got my GoPro, it was the same way. Turned it on, boom, it shut down, middle of the day, hot. 83%, 33 minutes and 51 seconds. So I don't want to disturb it. Performance cores, here we are coming up on 84%. Performance cores are almost nothing. Efficiency cores are everything. And the GPU is 1/3 or lower than 1/3. Looks like it's gone down a little bit. So where are we? We're at 85%. And I don't see it going up. The cores are still moving. GPU history not moving. There, it just went, it just moved. 86%. We're at 35 minutes for a 22-minute clip. Now, I never, for full transparency, I never put all those filters on something. I wanted to push the machine. I wanted to see the performance cores jump up, the efficiency cores jump up, the GPU jump up, just for your sake, that you guys could see. There is no fan. The fans are not on. Laptop's cool. Because we're at idle. We are idling. We're at 88%. And we are idling at 82%, 84%. And we're even making a screen recording too. We'll have to see how that comes out. I will be cutting over to the screen recording here, but we are running it. You'd think that we'd be pushing this machine enough that the fans would come on. Now something has priority. I don't know if they want the machine to be quiet, so they keep the usage down so that it'll be nice and quiet, that's all good. But if you select power, you want power over quiet. Okay, where are we at now? We are, the ring is, donut's almost done. We're at 91%. So at 95% is usually where it stops showing a change, and then it finishes up, wraps everything up. So we're getting close. 37 minutes, 13 seconds, 92%. GPU, less than 1/3. So this GPU is less than a third. Core 2, a little over 50%. Core 1, 1/3. Core 3, a little higher than 1/3. Core 4 is lower than a third. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, doing almost nothing. And the GPU, we are down less than a third. Nothing going on with the GPU hardly, even though we're making a screen recording and we are processing this video. So we're at 94%. I expect at 95 that we will not move the bar any further, and then we will be closing out. The donut up top looks like it's completely closed off there. The progress donut, as I call it. So we're at 30 minutes, 28 seconds. There we are. We're done. Stop this clock. 38:33, and we are done. Finished. Now, let's close out these windows here. Here is the video. Now, like I said, it's just a video with a bunch of filters on it.
Supervision by an adult.
Now,
so on this trigger,
there's a call out that they just came out with.
Right there, you have modules.
So we've got like a beautiful pistol over that.
Some of my SIG
scrub's really nice. There, it's got all the filters. Hello, so there, you're looking at 3833. And let's hide Final Cut Pro, all these windows, and this, and this. And here is the output file. So we're going to get information. So the information is 5.5 gigs. So output was 5.5 gigs. And there it is with all the filters. So maybe it would have been faster if I hadn't used the HVEC. Okay, so it did compress it really good. Time code HEVC linear. So it is HEVC. And this concludes our lesson here to show you the process and the processors. Now, please tell me what your thoughts are on the processor usage, GPU usage, and the CPU being idle. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you on the next one.